through some of the biggest surprises, disappointments maybe of week one. And, of course, at the end, we'll look a little bit ahead to week two as well, some of the best games on there. Jimmy Pilato, how we doing, my friend? We holding up okay there with that Bengals jersey? Are we doing okay?
I kept the jersey on because it's not all about at least they proved my point. I've been saying it for a while. I should expect this at this rate. They never win an opener when they don't play their starters, and everything looked out of sync today. Burrow and Chase and Higgins and Boyd, that was absolutely abysmal. I think they had like one or two, less than 5 third-down conversions on the entire day. This is supposed to be one of the offensive juggernauts. It's supposed to be one of the top 3 seeds in the AFC. You win this week, you set yourself up for a possible 1 seed hosting the entire AFC playoffs. Yet we're going to probably go 0-2 to start the season for the 3rd straight year. And then our $275 million man is going to have to send us on a 10-game winning streak just to barely squeak out a 3rd seed. So it's disappointing. Like, that was a lot of hype. This is supposed to be the best team. It's the best team in the Zach Taylor era. It's supposed to be the best Bengals team in history. Only team to go back-to-back division championships. You guys got a predator at quarterback. I don't want to hear it. I'm not ever going to say those 2 words together. He's ridiculous. It was bad. I tweeted after it was totally out of hand. There was no way that they were coming back. Just give it to them because they deserve it. Give it to them as hard as you can. They deserve every bit of it. Like, just punch him until he won't get up. They pulled Joe Burrow. They pulled a guy that they just paid to be the highest paid guy in the NFL. That's where I'm at with my NFL season. I'm already ready for hockey to start. And the Avalanche had a very bad end of their season.
Just one game. You're good. Just one. You're all right.
It's going to be 2 because that was not a performance that you make up for after 1 week. There is so much wrong. Offensive line. This is his best offensive line. Oh, my God. Zadarius Smith from the first play of the game had Joe Burrow on the ropes. They still
82 yards, Jimmy. That's all he threw for. 82 yards. How is that possible?
It was so well-deserved that he got pulled. He played like absolute garbage. That was the worst performance I've seen him have in a Bengals uniform, and he's thrown 3 straight interceptions on 3 straight plays. That was his worst game, and it's always Cleveland. Cleveland has his number. Cleveland is 6-1 now against him. 6-1, 5-1, one of them.
Was it get crushed last year on Monday night? Is that what it was?
They got crushed last year on Monday Night Football on Halloween. They were the national game. They were the national broadcasted early game today on CBS. Didn't even need the Sunday ticket, which we're paying the extra money for because I figured I'd need that for the Bengals. After this performance, I'm probably gonna. I highly doubt they're gonna be flexed out unless they come back in week 2 and everything is different. I'm not saying it's all bad. They still will probably have a very successful year. They're too good of a team not to be decent, but this does not bode well for the end of the season. We're going to be in a situation where we get screwed by our circumstances, but really, did you get screwed? Because you guys were the ones that didn't play in the preseason and decided to take the first half of the year off.
And you mentioned when we did the preview shows that you were hoping that would be the opposite this year, and that was what you were hoping with that team. The opposite. Brian, I don't hear Jimmy say much about good job Browns though. The Browns defense though they stepped up.
Oh no, they deserve the credit. I said that in my halftime video. I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
Yeah, Garrett just was all over the field and he looked legit.
Him and Zadarius Smith are a hell of a combo. I didn't realize that they picked him up in free agency. They rehauled that defensive line to the point where they're going to be a problem for a lot of people. If you let them just pound you up front on offense and defense the way that they want to, Cleveland is going to be a very tough team to beat for a lot of people, not just the Bengals.
And I know Chase made those comments earlier in the week. Maybe that gave him a little extra motivation. But I feel like in a game like this, the Bengals just didn't show up today. It's just one that hopefully the one good thing, Jimmy, is you maybe just throw it out the window too, right? Like, all right, bad game. Maybe that's the idea, but you do that in week 1. But as we all know, like you just said, the games add up. They all matter at the end of the day, each one. So you just want them to be playing better going into it. We could get back on the Bengals a little bit too. Brian, just real quick, was there any initial thoughts that you had after week 1? Anything stand out to you? It doesn't just have to be a game, any player, uniforms, whatever. Terribleness. What you got?
As much as they overhyped the Steelers in preseason, the Niners just exposed that team in every form of the game. I mean, they just did not look like they're ready to be contenders.
Kenny Pickett did not deliver
Yeah,
the
so.
injury of my 50 push-up bet at all. We got the rarely show up against the Browns.
I was so glad because I was on Terrell's show and I got wound up a little bit on Friday night and I said I would do 50 push-ups if the Steelers won too. So I'm glad.
That was actually a funny show, by the way. Shout out to our guy Terrell and Brian. You guys were actually you guys were really good. Actually, that was funny. You went at him good. I respect you.
It was tough. I did not realize the gauntlet that I was stepping into. It's a little bit. Yeah. It was a lot. I enjoyed the show. I had a blast, but I was like, damn, I'm gonna have to really. I had to step my game up. I was like, I'll do 50 push-ups. Oh,
yeah,
please, please. Yeah, no, the Steelers. I'm glad. Thank you, Brian. Brett, your Steelers did a lot for me. Even though I was playing against Brock Purdy, he threw like two touchdowns to Brandon Ayuk, who's on my team. So it balanced itself out.
What do you guys think for like? I got for like kind of like as we kind of move through the show, kind of our initial thoughts here. We kind of get to our get to the past that game of the day here a little bit. Let's kind of hit on some of the games that were maybe the best ones throughout the day here. When we looked at it, we kind of talked about. We obviously went over the Browns, Bengals, a little bit the Niners. To me, those weren't the games that early on. The only game early in the morning that really caught my attention was it wasn't one I was expecting really, but was towards the end, right? The Saints, Titans. Then you had the Bucks though. That was the surprising one over the Vikings, Jimmy. They killed me on I should have never go with the Vikings on your survival football picks. That should be a rule. I should never have done that. I went against one of my rules and I paid for it. What'd you kind of make of maybe those two games or anything?
This is kind of unfortunately, and I probably will get in trouble because I mentioned it on our show. My girlfriend her parents are her dad at least is a big Vikings fan. But this is what I expected. They're going to regress back. You won too many close games, and we're seeing it on Sunday Night Football with the Giants right now too, getting pounded 33-0, and it's not even the start of the fourth quarter. But like you have so many fluky wins in one season, and you just expect to be all that great moving on. They had a chance to win. They were up for a majority of the game. Cousins was making plays. Then all of a sudden it just stopped. And when it stopped this year, they didn't get the lucky bounce. They didn't get the fumble in the end zone. Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield was able to make a little magic happen. I was not expecting to have the Vikings lose that game and to be saying that Baker Mayfield probably had one of the performances, at least down the stretch of the game, of week one. Yeah, there she is.
Yeah, Vikings Chiefs household right there. That's funny right there.
That's a rough weekend this week. Plus the Bengals lose. It's not a good football weekend.
Yeah, this is not well, look out, kids at school this week. Look out. No,
there is a test on Friday, so we'll see. Better not say nothing. Let's just put that out there now.
Man, that paid off me getting the Cowboys defense in Terrell's money league because they almost got me 40 points tonight.
Daniel Jones, the whole thing, like they could bounce back, like you said, one game, but man, not a great start to that season at all. The thing with the Vikings too, what was it, Jimmy? You kind of touched on it a little bit there. They were like 11-0, something crazy like that, and 1 point, something like that, like 2 point games last year.
You saw it in the quarterback show too, where they showed that Bills game. Like they should have lost that game. Buffalo did everything that they needed to win that game, and they just couldn't. It's not going to be that same way. They were a good team last year. Kevin O'Connell did good things for the franchise, but they're going to have to step up. They're going to have to play perfect games. There's not going to be a lull. You're not going to be able to take advantage of lucky bounces every week again.
And last year was insane with that. Look at Logan Stone tuned in here. Logan, hope everything's good. I can't believe they put the Cowboys game on air. Yeah,
it's past 10:30 Eastern. I feel like TVMA is okay on Eastern television now.
You can do that now. I feel like they always got to have an NFC East game on them, right? Always, it feels like on a Sunday night. Doesn't it always feel like NFC East somewhere on that at the start out the season?
It's Jerry Jones. He's the godfather of the TV deal since Pat Bolin's no longer with us.
I saw they made some AI thing of Jerry Jones this week. That was kind of scary to think about, where you could go in and ask him any question. He lives forever, Brian. He lives forever. He'll live there. The Bucks one, like I said, that one we touched about the Vikings there a little bit. The other game too I wanted to hit on was that Saints one real quick, Jimmy. We talked about Derek Carr. He was able to pull it out late, but my goodness, the Titans, they had their chances to win that game. They just kicked so many darn field goals. Tannehill was terrible. We shouldn't expect anything less. But I'm not walking away saying the Saints look unreal, but maybe they figured something. Maybe their defense, though, does look pretty real. But again, the Titans offense, Jimmy, I'm not sure how to really balance all that.
Mixing this one with the ending of the Buccaneers game and the fact that the Falcons won pretty easily too, like maybe there is a little bit more competition for the NFC South than what we were giving it credit for. maybe this is a 3-team race. They're like mediocre quarterbacks, but they're all about the same level of mediocre. So who's going to really come out on top? It's a 3-horse race between Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, and Desmond Ridder. I would say Ritter's definitely the most unknown. We haven't seen him do it either way, so I'd probably put my faith in him. Like I said, I think I picked the Falcons in our divisional preview for the NFC South. I just don't trust Derek Carr down the stretch. But it makes things a little bit more interesting when you put all the games together, because that shouldn't have been as close as it was. And Tennessee probably should have been able to win, but Tennessee struggles in week ones, even under Vrabel. Vrabel always has them tough. Like, their defense played tough today, but their offense lacked any kind of explosivity.
What do you guys think of Bijan? But Brian, did you see any of that Falcons highlights or the game in the morning? I know you're watching the Niners a little bit. He got the first touchdown there a little bit. He does move a little differently though. He does move a little differently than other guys. I thought Young, he looked okay in the first game. I wasn't like overly impressed either way, but that was a game I was kind of keeping an eye on a little bit. Any thoughts on that game, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like, I was kind of like, when I saw Richardson play, I was like getting concerned because, man, he was taking some hits in that game.
He was. Let's go to that Colts Jazz game. But Jimmy, that was kind of a weird deal. Did you see the end of that game where he was like running for those extra yards and stuff? And not the end. I mean, you want your quarterback doing that, but man, like early on taking those type of shots, it's like, it's tough right there too. But it's hard to tell the kid out there like, no, you're not doing that. Like, he's trying to build like his team around him to fight for him. So I respect that.
Yeah, there's a guy on the local sports scene here that says you can't take the wag out of the puppy's tail. Like, you can't tell him to totally change the way that he's meant to play. And in all honesty, trying to be as objective as I can be, Florida doesn't run that difficult of a scheme to pick up. He's probably having to learn on the fly. And if you take away his athleticism and his ability to lower his shoulder, he is a big guy. He should be able to hold up a little bit better than most other quarterbacks. But if you tell him, hey, not only do you have to be able to win from the pocket, you have to totally change the entire thing. You're learning more plays than you've ever had to do. If you force him to conform the entire way, I think you're going to struggle even more than you're probably already looking at struggling. I think the Colts and the Cardinals are, in my opinion, two teams that are pretty much probably looking at the bottom of their conferences.
That was an interesting game too. When I kept checking in on it a little bit, the Jaguars thing.
I'm gonna say, man, the Jags got a steal with Ridley.
He looked really good today.
Yeah.
Did he bet on the games? Did he put money on himself? Like, did he Calvin Ridley 2 touchdowns?
He might have. That's give me the ball now. I need it now. I thought, right. There's a lot on the line.
You got to throw it to me.
You got to. Jimmy,
what's the LL Cool J line from Any Given Sunday? I need my carries. Because when I get my carries, then I get my money. And I like my money.
I got to watch that movie again. I haven't seen that one in a while. Any Given Sunday. I got to check that one out again. T.O. in that one. That's always the appearance. I always find it funny. Lawrence Taylor was in that one too. We got what's we got here? The Cropper rookie QB is going to be pretty good. Yeah, Stroud and the Texans, they kind of had there. It wasn't anything too special there in that game in terms of the score and stuff like that. But he does look like he's more than capable once they get a few more weapons around him. Jimmy, I wanted to touch on that Miami Chargers game because remember going into last week, we were like, it turned out to be a good game, but it did have some of the things that you said, a lot of flaws on defense, a lot of like kind of not your crisper play on that regard. But offensively, because what I think the Dolphins went down the field in like 70 yards in like 3 plays and they fumbled a snap the next play or something like that, and the Chargers get the ball. So there were those type of miscues, but you just hadn't feel it would be a shootout. The Dolphins again, though, Brian, they get off to that early start a little bit. They get hot, like you said. Brian, let's start with you real quick. What did you think of that Miami Chargers game?
It was just unreal offensively, but I don't know if you can trust any of those defenses and like getting you to the Super Bowl, right?
How about Hill, though, too? I mean, Jimmy, my goodness, this guy is just insane.
He's always insane at this point, but he never seems to hold up. And if there's any weather where he's not the fastest guy on the field and can make all of his different cuts, it seems to get cut out from underneath him. But this is the time. Miami's got a tough division. We see a few teams, they have good quarterbacks. They're going to have to pick up the wins where they can get them like this. Maybe this is their year to have all the lucky bounces. And I do think Mike McDaniel is a good coach. I would trust him more as a head coach than I would Brian Staley. That's why I see the Dolphins coming out the way that they did. It's funny that I said this was going to be the worst game because my game ended up being the worst game. That was the most atrocious, like the fact that the Bengals got an extra third down because Joe Burrow had a delay of game penalty, like that was bad. But Tyreek Hill right now, expect a heavy. If you have him early in the fantasy league, that's always the best thing. He kind of falls off towards the playoffs, towards the end of the season, but early on, September, October, that's Tyreek Hill's time to be the best, most dominant player on the field.
Whether
I had him 1 year when the year before he left the Chiefs, and he just was not good at all that year. It didn't seem like he got the touches that year.
He didn't want to play for you. That was the problem. We know Tyler over here. He loves himself some Tyreek Hill. I think he thinks he's maybe he almost was it last year. I think he had him as the best player in the league, maybe like right up there outside of Mahomes probably. So I know Tyler really loves him there. And then Jimmy, the last game here from game of the day here, the Raiders, they pull it out against the Broncos 17-16, a crazy start. Sean Payton, he goes for the onside to start the game. And then they had the illegal touch right there. Would have been a great start for them. Yeah. They missed that extra point they cut their kicker, who was a very reliable kicker this year. They have this guy, he ends up costing them the game technically with that missed extra point. Jimmy G, though, comes up big at the end with some big plays, gets that big run at the end to get that first down. I'm not going to say was the prettiest game, but to see the Raiders get some stops, actually, even though they kept the Broncos to 1/3, or they had Broncos only one time, didn't get a first down. What do you think there, Jimmy, with the Raiders? We both said that, so you obviously kind of played out how you thought as well.
It was closer than I thought it was going to be. I was a little shocked when Sean Payton takes over and Justin Simmons, who's normally a very level-headed guy, that was a dirty hit. The dirty hit that he had on Garoppolo in the first quarter where they had to take him off the field. The referees were yelling at him, all that stuff. So it's weird that took over as soon as Sean Payton got there. The kick ended up being the big thing because if it goes to overtime, the Broncos offense was definitely better than it was last year. Russell Wilson still has deficiencies, but you can't say that it didn't look better. It was a better product. It was a more entertaining game. But yeah, I did expect this. I thought the Raiders would get the win here, and I still think that the Broncos later on in the season will beat the Raiders, and maybe Mark Davis scrounges through his couch and finds enough money to buy out that contract that he has McDaniels on, because Nico was telling some stories on our show, which is why everybody should check out at FEOTB Pod. We'll have a new episode released this Thursday where we'll commiserate together, because this is where we started the show, where both of our teams were always losing. I think the first season was when Burrow tore his ACL, and that was like right in the middle of the Broncos absolutely being dog water for the entire year. So we'll commiserate more, but like he's not good for that franchise. They should have got him out a long time ago.
I got John tuning in here. What a day, fellas.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Could have used Jesse Bates. I'm telling you.
Could have used them today. We got 7 people in here right now. Love the chat there. We'll get them up there on the screen. Any thoughts there on week 1? We'll put them up on the screen. Yeah, so that was kind of a big game, Brian. You were ripping on Jimmy. He held out. Did that hurt you a little bit to see Jimmy slide for that first down? Did it just sting a little bit for you, or did the Steelers, or no? Because I know you hate yourself.
I just think in the second half of the season you're going to hate this guy. He is who he is, and I don't know. I mean, he got lucky today, man.
He did go out. What, he go out like the third play to get his head checked? I was thinking about you.
Dallas is about to put up 40.
Is he going to go 40 piece right now?
If they make the field goal, if they make the extra point, it's 40-0.
What does it say about the Giants? I mean,
I think it says that Daniel Jones was like Kirk Cousins last year. Same thing. They had a lot of magic down the stretch, and they probably shouldn't have won the wild card round the way that they did.
Yeah, that's a good point there. Jesse was balling today. Defensive player of the week incoming for sure there. He'll be in the running. Do you think the Giants, it was just you kind of just throw this game out of the way, or the Cowboys, do you think this is a legit Cowboys performance? Is this a real team? We have, because we rank these NFC teams, and right at the beginning, we all basically say Eagles, Niners. Like, do we consider them a legit threat still? Like, watching them tonight, do they feel like they're in that same class, Jimmy, as those 2 other teams?
There was mistakes made. Right now, it's anybody. Like Dallas looks like they're going to be the front runner because New England made Philadelphia struggle, and they probably shouldn't have. So. Yeah. But I do think that the other 2 teams in this NFC East, Washington, they beat a bad team in Arizona today. So I'm not going to give them the credit that they think they deserve. Dallas right now has shown the most as like This is a former playoff team that they're playing against, and in a primetime spot where they could have choked or pissed down their leg and played down to their competition, they're putting on an absolute show. That was a third-string running back that just scored.
Week 5, we play Dallas 49ers on Sunday night. That's going to be a good game.
That'll be where we kind of decide whether or not the Cowboys' initial season push was for real. And I think that's going to be a good test for Purdy. Is it in San Francisco or is it in Dallas?
In San Francisco.
It's going to be not as much of a test, but it'll still be something.
No,
Yeah,
exactly. That'll be a good one, Brian, to have your reaction on there with it. Oh gosh, we can get some cussing on there from you live here. I like that. We'll get you there. And Brian, I like Purdy's confidence though. He did have. I like his little area. What do you say there? We had to shut up the haters, so that I'm sure you enjoyed that.
I feel like all week the Steeler fans were just talking smack.
They're Steelers fans. I mean, that's what they do. Jimmy knows that better than anybody, right?
My entire family, friends, everybody's a Steelers fan in my life, because that's just the irony that I get to live my everyday existence.
And what was Patrick Peterson thinking, saying he's going to pick off Purdy, because you knew it wasn't going to happen after he said that.
I know. I text you. It's like I'm like, man, they got a picture as a little life, and then CMC goes all the way down. I was like, great. I was like, no, he goes all the way down 70 yards right there. Hey, Jimmy, as we kind of get to the second half of the show here, kind of moving forward with it, I got a question for the week. Who do you think is considered like the cool player to root for this year? Too? I did this for baseball for 7th inning stretch, trying to think of guys. Like, when you're like 10 years ago, like, well, that's the guy I kind of want to be like. There's like these guys that kind of stood out to you that you're trying to be like. Who maybe comes to your mind first, or is there somebody out there that like you hear at school a lot too?
Well, I'm not going to say who I hear at school because I don't agree with them. Like my entire class last year was obsessed with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they had Jokic right in their own backyard. So I don't listen to the 12-year-old's opinion. I just make sure that I use that and know that that's not who I should pick. I'm going to say Jason Kelce. I'm excited to see the documentary that's coming out. I think it's Tuesday. That's going to drop on Amazon Prime, but just as a football coach, as an offensive lineman, I would watch him because he opens up so much with his athletic ability, being able to pull from the center position. That offense is so wide open. Excuse me, wide open. And it's easy for me to say an offensive lineman as like an easy way out, but as a leader in the community, as a leader on the team, in the locker room, on the field, like there's not a lot of guys that I would tell. I have a center right now that's very similar. Like he's the general. I told him, you're smaller than everybody else out here, so you got to play with the right technique. You get everybody going right. They listen to you. Whatever you say is just an extension of me. And I think Jason Kelce is a really good example for people, especially young players, to look up to, because he's done pretty much everything the right way, and he's advocated for people and helped people. Like he's the only reason his brother's in the NFL right now. So he's the only reason Chiefs fans have enjoyed all of their success.
And you're right. I forgot about that story. And he has a good. Their podcast is good too. Like I love. They had like a funny one this week where he had like his wife on.
I was just listening to that one before we got on here.
It was actually pretty entertaining. Like some of the story, I like the little what's the little internet thing that they found, swipe right thing. And that was kind of a funny little thing. I was saying at my school, it's funny, believe it or not, I was gonna say Travis Kelce. I have a ton of jerseys for the kids that wear his jersey at our school. And the other that's the guy that stands out to me that everybody seems like. And then of course Patrick Mahomes is the other guy that the guys like a lot too. Brian, do you think there's a cool Justin Jefferson? That was the other one because of the dancing. Yeah, that was the other guy that a lot of them like too, is Justin Jefferson. He gets a lot of love at my school too, Jefferson. So I'm thinking he's maybe like the cooler plays that the younger kids are like kind of like that they're looking up to in that regard. Brian, you got a quick one there?
I noticed a lot of people.
Jared Goff.
I noticed a lot of people really like DK Metcalf.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. I don't know if I feels like an alternative. He's definitely a Pacific Northwest guy. He should play his entire career in Seattle because they'd love him up there. If they had a professional team at Portland, he should be the spokesperson for that.
And I bet in San Francisco, you probably get a lot of Brock. A lot of people love Brock Purdy right now.
Yeah, well, he's definitely getting
Kittle.
Well, and then Hurts was the guy I was thinking too. The guy wearing number 7 in Atlanta.
I don't even know who that is. I'm sorry.
I'm guessing that's Bijan.
Oh,
yes, that's Bijan there.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
I
guess a rookie running back. Yeah, that makes sense.
I love it.
I'm still salty if you can't tell. I'm in a bad mood.
That's all right, Jimmy. That's why we're trying to get you out of here in a little bit here. We're trying to get you to bed early. We got to get through the week. We're going to get to our week 2 matchups. We'll talk about your Bengals in a second of their matchup. Just real quick, guys. Maybe give me we talked about some of the games, so you don't have to necessarily talk about a team thing. Maybe there was a player or something something that stood out to you. Are there any surprises or disappointments that kind of stood around the rest? I mean, for me, real quick, if I could just go back to the Thursday night game, Kadarius Toney, that's kind of a disappointment. That's kind of a little bit performance there. Brian, you got a disappointment or a surprise for you?
I'd say the disappointing, definitely the Giants tonight. I didn't think they played that bad.
Well, I get you. That would be a disappointment tonight.
I mean, it was going into the playoffs, and the Giants were saying, "Oh, if he doesn't get done, we're moving on." And then they give the guy an extension. Made no sense.
That's a good one, Daniel Jones. Yeah, you get up your 0-piece right now, and it's 40-0 right there. That's a great one. Disappointment. We got a guy here, Brandon Gaming 101, checking in. What's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for checking out Talking the Gridiron here, Variety Sports Network. Jimmy, what do you got there for disappointment or surprise?
It's a both. It's a double in one. I'm disappointed, and I'm also surprised how well Deshaun Watson kind of led that Cleveland attack. I thought that for as much as everybody probably wanted him not to do well outside of Cleveland, he played up to the standard that they signed him to, and he was putting guys in the right spots. If it wasn't rainy, it would probably be a lot uglier of a score because they would have been able to pass a little bit easier. But for now, I mean, that's disappointing, but it's also surprising how well he played to me.
And they put Cooper Rush in over Trey Lance.
Cooper Rush, you gotta walk Trey in there. He's gonna get 7 years, and then he'll get the starting job over there. How about for me? I had a kind of a surprise for the team. I thought the Rams and Stafford, they looked quite well. They looked a lot better. How about Love and the Packers? Love looked pretty good today, throwing 3 touchdowns in that game too. Not great. And then a disappointment though in that same game, Justin Fields. He even said himself he didn't play that great in the game. So that kind of goes a little bit of disappointment category.
Do you guys think Geno regresses? He just didn't look that great at all.
To me, he's gonna have. To me, that's where I thought he was gonna regress before the year. I don't know. What do you think, Jimmy?
It's. I thought that he would be more. I thought they were going to lean more into his running ability because the guy, he had 1,000 yards rushing last season. He said in one of the commercials, like maybe he rushes for 2,000 yards. I think that was blown out of proportion, but they should definitely be trying to use that to open up anything else in their offense because he's the most dynamic weapon. He is. As much as I don't really like him and I'm not too upset to see him struggle, he needs to be used in the correct way to be successful.
I feel like just a disappointment is that, should we say, the Cardinals Commanders game just feels weird. So I don't even know what to make of that. I just was looking at that. I was like, it feels like a disappointment that somebody won the game. Right there.
It was not good.
Sorry, Terrell.
VSN was making a big deal about Sam Howell. I guess he looked better than some of the quarterbacks that they've had.
It's preseason, man. It's preseason. You can't judge ever preseason.
And they're also playing an FCS school, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the Arizona Christian University out there.
The Cardinals are tanking for Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr.
They will not come out. They will stay in college. They will not come out and play for the Cardinals. To me,
I do not want to live in Arizona. There's no, I will not. I refuse.
A little surprise to me was that the Eagles didn't finish off the Patriots. They get off 17-0. I mean, come on. I do think that from that standpoint, like, well, it's opening day. They would throw. I mean, they got off to a really bad start. That's as bad a start you could get off to a game, and how quickly they got off to that bad a start. And I just thought the Eagles would be able to pour it on a little bit more at their offense. And they only got 8 points after that. To me, that was just a little bit of a surprise. It was that regard and how the Patriots kind of almost hung in there.
Yeah, I would say a disappointment too, if we're going back to Thursday night, would be Matt Nagy and the way that he called that game for Kansas City. I think that he probably put them in a bad spot, and you're maybe seeing a little bit because the Commanders happened to win. So maybe the enemy had more influence over the offense. And now that he's not there, Nagy is going to go back to being what Matt Nagy was in Chicago, where he's supposed to be this play calling genius. But maybe Andy Reid's going to have to start taking over and calling more of the plays.
Yeah. Did he do that one of the years they won it? Or maybe not. I'm thinking of a different year. How about Kenny Pickett? Man, what a pathetic performance that was from their team.
What I expected from him. I hope he sucks all year.
And then I heard an excuse on Twitter that he had a cough before the game. So
For the, well, they always have a little cough in there. TJ Watt played well. I just wanted to shout. He played really well in that game.
He
All right,
never doesn't play well. He's always in the mix.
He just played like a beast last night. He was unreal. Just a couple of news and notes here as we get to the end of the fourth quarter of the pod here. Just kind of flashing back a little bit. Chandler Jones, that whole weird thing with the Raiders. I have no idea if that is a Raiders thing. If I've ever seen one, I mean that is a Raiders thing. Like 3 days before opening that day, Jimmy. That's what happens with the Raiders. We got 11 people in the chat. Feel free to comment in. We're talking news and notes here. We'll come up with anything with the game. But Jimmy Chandler Jones, and then he says this is why players like social media. Okay, I get that, but I mean, that was a weird deal. Like you don't do it like that. That was an odd deal with it. But only the Raiders get that. Your guy Joe Burrow, he gets the historic deal. We talked about the loss, I know, but he does get the 5-year deal. That's why he's taking a lot of heat today on social media because of that deal right now. A lot of people say, well, look at Jalen Hurts. Well, that's what happens. People, it goes in order. The longer you wait, you'll get the higher deal with that. And then, like I already mentioned, the one that took it off the board here already is basically Justin Fields calling himself out, saying he did not play very well today and was a little disappointed there with that. Jimmy, any of those stand out or just what little note on either of those? Chandler Jones, you think that's just a Raider thing?
It's definitely not good. That's what I was talking about with Josh McDaniels. I think he's going to push himself out just kind of like how he pushed himself out with us. And, I mean, he only lasted a day as the head coach of Indianapolis. He's obviously not very well liked outside of one place in the NFL. The fact that he isn't there just waiting out until – I mean, Belichick's not going to be there that much longer. I know that they did okay today, but you should probably just be in New England, hang out, and then maybe you'll continue on as Steve Belichick takes over as the head coach, and you can just be the offensive coordinator because that's the only place that you're liked and you're respected. I don't think that he has any respect in the Las Vegas locker room right now.
I would agree. He obviously doesn't. And that's the thing with the Raiders. They never haven't had this culture to be able to keep them along. Obviously, I know you're pumped up about Burrow getting that thing right there with it. Brian, a lot of injuries again. Dobbins, this guy, I mean, I feel bad for him. The man just gets hurt every year. He's down already, ACL.
Now it's an Achilles, but
I know. I feel bad for him. Like you're thinking about it, you're taking your fantasy pick, knowing he's going to get hurt. You're like, well, he'll stay healthy this one year. But Jimmy, this guy, I just feel bad for him. He's just one of those guys that just cannot stay healthy. Just cannot.
Doesn't seem like it's cut out for him. Maybe it's time to look at something different, unfortunate as it might be to say.
I think that might be the case there. All right. Hey, as we get to the end here, a little quick here, Jimmy, you still got the Jets for tomorrow, right? I'm assuming you're not going away from your brother's Jets.
Yes, I picked them. I'm pretty sure I picked them on this show. I picked them on Terrell's show. I picked them on our show. It would give me another win over Nico. Right now, he's got 3 ahead on me with the way things are going. I picked the Giants tonight, and obviously that didn't bode well for me.
At least you're not doing by total points. That's not like you have no chance after that one. Brian, you got Bills win this one, or you got the Jets?
Yeah, I'm taking the Bills definitely.
First Monday night game of the year. Next week, there's 2 Monday night games. As we get into the fourth quarter, we're kind of at the end here. That we're going to get to a sneak peek here, week 2, kind of the best games. Kind of looking ahead, Jimmy. Again, like I said, 2 Monday night games. Looking ahead to week 2. We got, what do I got on there Monday night? I knew it. Saints at Panthers, and then Browns at those Steelers that we were talking about. I'll bring it up here on the screen here in a minute, but some of the other games we got going on that I kind of found interesting. We got Packers, Falcons, kind of an interesting, both teams 1-0. One of those teams is going to start 2-0. And then your Ravens, Bengals one. That's kind of an interesting one to me, Jimmy, as well.
It's a divisional game, and Baltimore took care of business. Baltimore and Cleveland are right now tied for the division lead. So you got to get one game back on either of them and hope that, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if the Steelers beat the Browns on Monday night for you too, because now it's all about the standings, because you're still hoping, at least at this point of the season, you're still hoping that the Bengals will be towards the end of the season pushing for playoff seeding, and this would be a game that you'd look back on and be like, if we drop this one at home, that's where things start to get ugly.
Yeah, you guys go 0-2 at home there. That's a tough one.
I really like the Chiefs-Jags matchup.
That's a taste. That's a good one. 10 a.m. in Jacksonville. Cheat. You think you guys? It sounds like Kelsey will probably play. You think can they win another? Can they win without? I mean, I don't think they can beat the Jags without Kelsey.
No way.
I didn't think that the tight end that they had in was bad, but not having Kelsey out there for third downs and having to go to Kadarius Toney apparently is not a move that is going to bode well in the future.
No, that's going to be a tough one there. And I'm interested with the Chiefs. Like you were the one that was more on it than us. We're like, at some point there is going to be a wall, like just even for a season, right? Like you hit one. I'm not going to go there yet with it. It was too early, but
their offensive line looked as bad as I expected it without Orlando Brown. Their tackles did not hold up against the pass rush. And I know Aiden Hutchinson's a beast, but outside of him, Detroit doesn't have anybody else, and they didn't look good.
And dude, that's where I'm at with you. That's the problem. That's going to be a huge issue for them going forward. Brian, you said Chiefs Jags. That's a good one. I like that one as well. Seahawks Lions. Curious if the Seahawks can bounce back. Also, one for me: Raiders at Bills. Come on, Raiders. Come on, let's go. Can we get Jimmy 2-0? If Jimmy gets the first 2 wins at Denver, at Buffalo, now we have something here. Now we're cooking a little bit here, Johnson. There we go.
That's probably going to be more like the 1990
shut up.
AFC
shut up. 55-0 or whatever that game was, 55-10. Oh, God. 2-0, I can feel it. We're going to go Jimmy for Jimmy. 2-0. He's going to cover us this week. And that would be a tough game, Raiders at Bills. So but obviously for me, that would be a big game. I'll be definitely rooting for that one. We have a Thursday night game.
We play the Rams.
Rams. That will be. I feel like. And you play it in LA, which you guys will have 90% of Niners fans there. That's going to be. You guys will absolutely take over that whole entire stadium.
I don't worry about that one. I wouldn't sweat that one.
Yeah, to me, I'm with you. That's the Colts, Texans,
and then we play these guys on Thursday night, the Giants.
The Giants, yeah,
it's looking like 3-0 for us right now.
Cardinals, Giants next week. That looks like maybe the snooze fest game of the week. Sorry, Giants fans, on that one. Can the Broncos out in Denver? Can they beat the Commanders week 2? They got to beat them? They got to get that one.
Looking at it, they're still the favorites. I mean, they should, but with the way things went today, I don't know. Because my parents were at the game live, they said that the refereeing was a little bit skewed. They didn't think that it was called the best as a week 1 game. So maybe it's different, but the fact that they're still favored, they're still putting a lot of faith in Sean Payton turning this thing around. So
yeah, no doubt. And they, like you said, they did look a little better. A couple other games here: Chargers, Titans. They play as well. I already mentioned Colts, Texans. Jets at Cowboys. That's a 1:25 start our time, Pacific time. And then the Sunday night game is Dolphins at Patriots. Why are the Patriots getting a Sunday night game, people? Why is this happening? What are we doing here, NBC? Can we flex that already? Can we flex that game? Can we get a different game on already with that one?
Nobody wants to see Mac Jones on Sunday night.
No, nobody wants to see back attack. All right, guys. To me, that's our show here for tonight. We talked a lot about things. Jimmy, you said you guys got your show coming on Thursday night. You guys are going to be doing probably recapping week 1 and then obviously doing your previews. I had a lot of people around my school and other people commented on our scary show. They really liked that. They liked your format. They even said my sister especially said she liked it. Well, she's like, she got a kick out of the story with the public school thing there too. So shout out to you and your podcast with that. But I know you guys got something Thursday, far under the bench. What you got going on this week?
Yeah, the YouTube will be live Wednesday. We drop that before the podcast comes out Thursday, and then Top of the Mountain will be either Thursday or Friday. We had to make an adjustment Friday. RMAC football, there's a lot of teams that won games that we weren't expecting, a lot of teams that surprised. So Top of the Mountain will be interesting this week to check out with myself and Rev. Rev had to work tonight, but hopefully we'll get him on at some point through the season. He said that he wants to come on. It just has to work out with the schedule.
Yeah, I DM'd him this week. He said that's what he said. So I'd love to get him. I was watching you guys the Mount one a little bit. I was learning a lot of these teams forts. There's a lot of forts in the name. A few of them had the fort name in there. So I was like, oh, these are
Fort
definitely
loser. 1,437 days since they've won a game.
I was listening to that. That was good stuff. You guys, Brian, I know you guys are going to have TMB this week, probably recapping that Steelers win, looking ahead to the Rams game. We took a bye week this week from Fat Boy Fadeaway Sports. Just needed a little breather where it was on a 6-month run there, so needed a little break. And we're going to be talking the gridiron here every week. Jimmy was flexible with me today. Let me go back a little half an hour. I had a family thing, so appreciate you guys letting me get started a little bit later. But we'll be back to our normal time next week, 6:45 Pacific time, 7:45 Mountain time. And for you late owls out there, 9:45 as Jimmy yawns out there. Perfect timing, Jimmy. That's well done. I like that. Let's put that one there right there. With that said, talking the gridiron week 1, that's in the books for Jimmy Pilato, for Brian the Main Man Johnson, Variety Sports Network. I'm Daren Breyer. Peace.
This is Brandon, CEO of the Variety Sports Network. Thank you again for watching tonight's show. Best way you can support us is by hitting that subscribe button, that like button, and hitting the notifications so you don't miss out on the next show right here on the Variety Sports Network.